Oh, and it's on.
It's a bomb upgrade in Link's house. So we're both wrong.
Well, it's a bit on the disappointing side to find an upgrade so early because they don't even have the ammo to fill it up.
But I called it. Sanctuary chest was a red rupee.
Dang, man, that's not bad. Let's hope your future, everything you predict in the future in this seed will be good. And
Okay,
here's a map check.
We've got Blue Pendant at Eastern, and we've got Crystals at Hera and Desert, but I didn't see if either one of those was 5 or 6.
I believe Hera was 2. I could be off. Ooh, very nice pull, being 8 bombs.
And bombs from the crab.
So they're doing very good on bombs. Well, at least Flaafykins is so far.
And that's a 300 rupees in the Lumberjack Cave.
Now, being 300 rupees here might indicate that, Agaham is not going to be very present in this seed, but it's a bit early to say that. So I'll take a reserve. Now, it looks
There's
like
the mirror. There's the mirror in the drop cave, the forest cave.
Yeah, those are. This is a very good find from WebbJebster here. He will need that later on. If it's not to travel to a dungeon like Swamp Palace, it's definitely just going to be useful as a time save going from Dark World to Light World.
Or, well, I can figure they will need it for Swamp Palace or Pod, or just to get around in from Light World to Dark World, as you say.
Yeah, very useful item to find. Maybe not that much early on, as it doesn't quite open places by itself. But it's a nice thing to have, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, WebbJebster here finds only rupees inside Blind's hut, and he can't open the back door, the back way here, since he doesn't have bombs.
Not a whole lot useful out of Blind's hut, though. Mostly money. We've got a power glove. I love the power glove. It's so bad.
Love the reference. Now, the power glove, this is an item you really want to see early on, as it does open a lot of places here and there. For now, it's still a bit limited, but it's not gonna take much longer that they're gonna use it to lift up those rocks and go maybe to Zora, maybe up Death Mountain. Depends really on their routing and what else they find along the way.
Yeah, a hammer or another upgrade, and there's a sword in the well. A hammer or another lift upgrade opens up Dark World.
And not even 4 minutes in and already a sword. Disappointed. But it's fine, I guess. It's kind of useful.
Maybe a little. Now the question is, will WebbJebster go back and pick up the chest in the back of Blind's hut?
Well, I think it's pretty standard practice to just open up every chest in the beginning, since you have so little equipment that you don't want to just leave an empty chest. Well, not an empty, but an unopened chest somewhere else.
And Weft does. And Flaffy picks up her power glove.
Now we're seeing a pretty standard opening from these guys so far. It's pretty common to just go around Kakariko and see these first few locations here and there because, as I said earlier, they have so little equipment that anything they find at the beginning is pretty much used all along.
And Flaffy was in and out of library so fast I did not see what was in it.
I believe it was the bug catching net, also known as the style points giver, as it might be useful later on to catch fairies as its natural uses, but we tend to use it more for getting more style points on Aghanim. Let's see if they need to use it.
Well, and Flaffy is heading down to the Southern Hyrule. Now, I'll ask you, because I've tried it both ways, and I don't know which one's actually faster. Do you do the Sluice Gate item first, or do you do the chest in there first? Partner?
I tend to look at what the chest has first, just to get it out of the way. So after that, I can just go open the waterway, grab the item there, and get out of there as fast as I can.
Now, obviously, if you got Mirror, it's moot because you can do them both.
Yeah, Flaafykins here is a bit cheating on her opinion here. So you usually don't find a mirror that early, so. Now, going for the mini Moldorm Cave, it's a pretty good gamble, as it has about 5 treasures in it, so going there early is a pretty good idea.
Pretty standard routing so far.
Another thing people tend to do at the beginning is check escape and sewers. And maybe even pay a visit to the old man now, just standing in a puddle of water.
Yes, that is often an early. We've got a Cane of Brian and Silvers.
Now, the Cane of Brian is an interesting find at the beginning here because you have so little life that every little count of hits you can take can help you in these early dungeons. And the Silvers is a very good item, but unless you find a bow, it's pretty much useless.
And Flaffy is in a little bit of danger here with these crabs because green mail, those crabs do 2 hearts of damage. And
yeah. But it's not uncommon to see somebody going down to crabs like that. Like you said, 2 hearts of damage on them, you go down pretty fast.
Looks like Wef is heading over to Desert. Check Agina, check Desert Ledge. And Flaffy appears to be heading up towards Shamalama Ding Dong, or Rufus Xavier Sarsaparilla, or whatever his name is.
I believe the correct pronunciation is Sriracharal, but I may be mistaken. I'm known to meme from now and often, all the time.
Okay, looks like Pod is the green pendant, according to Sriracha.
Now, that's not a bad place for a pendant to be, because Pod still has a lot of items in it, and it's not very far away from Eastern, which...
Especially with the mirror.
Yeah. So maybe you'll see the runners go check both of these dungeons at the same time once they find the hammer and the bow, if they're searching for items. Of course, being a pendant dungeon, they might not actually need to go in them at all.
And Wef heading for the last room of escape. And the run is validated. Wef gets the single arrow.
Validated within 10 minutes. That's a great time. Should be a new PB.
And Flaffy heads into Eastern. Well, and I can't say that's necessarily a bad idea because V26 do pendant dungeons.
Oh, yeah. As I started to tell to people in chat here and there, dungeons in V26, they're just like big, complicated caves. Never skip them just because it's a pendant in it. Doing something early can give you a big advantage, especially something like Eastern Desert or early Dark World dungeons.
Also, we have our first Kappa sighting in chat. Hello, Hookshot!
Well, that's a very good find. WebbJebster now is going to get a slight advantage from that, from being able to hookshot from small places to others, as it does save a couple of seconds here and there if you can find the right setup to use it.
Okay, the crystals are 2 and 3 for Hera and Desert, respectively.
So that means that the Dark World will have at least two pendant dungeons, which one of them we already know is Dark Palace. Now, wouldn't that be fun if the other one was something like, I don't know, Turtle Rock?
Or Ice Palace. 3 items for ridiculous amount of time investment.
Yeah, those are probably the worst dungeons because they either have a lot of requirement in Turtle Rock's situation, or just being so goddamn awful to go through in Ice Palace situation.
Oh yeah, I would rather do Turtle Rock than Ice Palace.
Now it looks like Flaafykins decides to sequence break by going into a dark room without the lamp. It's not a very hard dark room to go through, but still commendable because you do need to learn all the layouts, the enemies, and the door.
And let me also say, if you are not following these 2 runners, you should.
Now, WebbJebster finally entering Eastern, and it looks like for now there's nothing much useful in there. They will have to turn around as they cannot continue without the bow and technically the lamp, but you saw as I did that doesn't stop them.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, you should follow these runners just because these guys are awesome. They're putting on a great show for us on their busy time. And I mean, why not? These guys are just pretty cool people. I think pretty much this community is really awesome in the first place for putting on this whole tournament. So everybody involved is very, very cool people.
Also, a big shout out again to our restreamer Alvi and our tracker S Diesel. Wef choosing not to do the dark rooms in Eastern. Which, as we know from Flaffy's stream, is the right play.
Very true. That she only earned herself a small compass in there, which, to be honest, if you're playing Randomizer, you really don't need it.
Yeah, if you're playing Randomizer and you don't already know the dungeon layouts, then you haven't been playing it very long. Flaffy doing the Zelda rescue part of Escape.
Definitely.
And Wef is setting up fake flippers.
Not an easy trick to get on.
As I understand, it's easier to set up from the screen on the left, but Wef gets it. Now, the danger of fake flippers is, for those of you that don't already know, if you get hit, and that looked like Bombos on Hylia Island, but if you get hit, it's an instant death. And a Master Sword for Flaffy.
Yeah, fake flippering is not an easy trick, and everybody has a bit of their own little setup to try and get it. And it looks like it didn't quite pay off to go see the hobo, but we might see Wef or Flaffy later on try it again to go up to Zora if they choose to go through that route. Of course, they have the power gloves, so they could go the normal route.
And the lamp is in Zelda's chest. I love lamp.
Uh-oh. You know what that means. They have a Master Sword, they have a lamp. It might be an Naga Seed.
Oh, we can hope.
Now, there's still that good chance that it's not required because there's plenty more items. Well, I say plenty, but there's a few more items they can go check before that becomes the optimal play. But for now, let's hope there's more stuff to come.
Flaffy doing the rest of Escape, the sewers portion.
Now, one thing we didn't talk of so far is, as you can see on Flaffy's screen, she is using the Maiden sprite. You can choose from a lot of different sprites that a community actually created, and it's pretty cool all the selection they have. Now, not everybody is comfortable choosing another sprite, and that's perfectly acceptable, but my vote goes to Flaffy because of that. I mean, you get to choose from over 30 sprites. Might as well use them.
Well, some of them are barely... Some people are... I won't want to say barely, but some people are only comfortable with some of the tricks that require precise positioning using the Link sprite.
Yeah, I do understand that very much. Myself, I almost lost a race because I didn't know how to do the bomb jump with the purple chest, which kind of it is a handicap sometimes when you don't know how to do certain tricks with certain sprites, but it's something you can also practice. So you need to keep that in mind, that if you're dedicated enough, you can do some pretty awesome stuff with different sprites.
And Flaffy heading up Death Mountain.
Now that's a cool play I like to see too, because unlocking that old man location is very useful later on, because it gives you better access to Tower of Hera, to every item locations on Death Mountain, and of course Turtle Rock and Ganon's Tower in the Dark World.
And looks like Wef is doing the same.
I don't blame him.
I think that's a great play, because Eastern Death Mountain is open with the hook shot. Tower of Hera is open with the mirror.
Yeah, they're getting a lot more value here than going for, let's say, Aghanim, which will give them only access to the pyramid item, as they do not have the Moonpearl yet.
Yeah, this is definitely the best half magic on top of Spectacle Rock. Even though it's not required, if I see a chance to get it, I'm always going to get it. And was that a single piece of heart in there in the Spectacle Rock Cave?
Indeed. I completely agree with you. The half magic is one of those safeties when you see it's not completely out of their way, you better go get it. It's really useful.
Especially since neither runner has picked up any magic pots prior to that, because half magic refills it.
That's true. It's a small time save from picking it up elsewhere or farming it from enemies.
And Flaffy heads into Tower of Hera, while WebbJebster heads over to take care of Eastern Death Mountain.
Let's see who gets a better payoff out of this so far. I think Flaffy only found herself a compass downstairs.
That's correct. There was nothing in the first cave, or at least nothing of note. And nothing of note so far in the... there's a mushroom.
Ooh, mushroom. That's one of those mystery items. You never know what you can get out of those because it's not very useful by its own, but you can go exchange it for another item.
And we've got Titan's Mitts in Tower of Hera.
Oh my,
So,
that's... yeah.
So if Mushroom doesn't exchange for something really good, I think Flaffy got the better of that exchange. Although WebbJebster looks like is heading up to do Tower of Hera now as well. And I'll say the thing I usually say when I see someone pick up a shovel or a mushroom, do you want to have a fetch quest?
Oh, definitely. Those fetch quests, man. Especially early on, you want to check them. They tend to troll out of you because it's like a 50-50 out of it. It's either they have something you need for the seed, or it's like a single green rupee. It's never in between.
And 3 spin attacks with the Master Sword takes care of Trolldorm for Flaafykins.
And she gets lucky, gets the second treasure off of Moldorm.
And no basement required. Thank goodness, because that tile room is miserable.
Now, this is interesting because Flaffy is going now to Eastern Death Mountain to go find what's in these caves here, and she also will be able to find out what's inside 2 more chests in the Dark World. Now, normally you need the Moon Pearl to check them, but you can actually check them without it. Do you know why?
That is true. There is Super Bunny Cave.
Yeah.
As I understand it, it has to do with the fact that the coating can't really handle the combination of falling down a well or falling down a hole as the bunny.
It's something of some sorts, yeah.
So it then lets you interact with things and use items as the bunny.
Exactly. So it's an interesting interaction you can do in this cave. So it lets you access to 2 more chests. Now, I don't know if everybody knows about it, though. So we'll see if Flaffy makes the play to go there.
And Flaffy picks up her fetch quest as well. WebbJebster finishes off Trolldorm and picks up a crystal. Flaffy, it looks like, is not going to check Dark World Death Mountain and is going to go do something else.
Yep, as I said, maybe it's something she wants to check later on when she does have the Moon Pearl to be able to do everything in East Dark World. It's not a bad play per se, because it's better to maybe put it off for later when you can actually get every item.
Looks like Witch's Hut and possibly Zora from Flaffy here.
Yeah, this is a play I can agree with. Checking both those at the same time, that's a great time to go do them, especially since they don't have a lot of locations left open to them.
Yeah, it looks like Zora or Aghanim. And we have our Lunar Sphere.
There
the
we
cheese
go.
puff from the fetch quest. Looks like Wef is going to fake flippers up to Zora.
And that's true. They now have a way to the Dark World that's open up to them north of Thievestown.
Which, I don't know about you, but I consider Thievestown to be possibly the single best Dark World dungeon to do. Because there's so little that that's locked in it, or that locks it. There's one chest you need the hammer for. Everything else, all you need is Moon Pearl and a way to the Dark World.
That's true. It's a pretty free dungeon, and every time it's a crystal, I always go, "Oh, thanks," because having that dungeon as a pendant is more of a, I want to go in there.
It's also a pretty fast check too.
That's true, since you're probably gonna go check more overworld locations around there, since there's the chest minigame, the sea house, the bombable hut, and even more around a little further you can check.
Digging game. If you get there with Titan's mitts, then there's also blacksmiths and Gary's lunchbox as well.
Yep, that's true. It does look like Flaafykins is going to do that right now, as we've just seen that both runners have checked Zora only for a bit of love, which is not exactly what they're looking for right now.
Honestly, okay, we've got 5 is Skullwoods, 6 is Swamp Palace, and Red Pendant is T-Rock. Sorry, that map check, I felt we needed to get that information out right away.
Oh yeah, completely agree with you. It's very important early on to know where every dungeon, what it has in it. It can influence you to what the seed wants you to do. Because even though the items is randomized in these seeds, there is something called a bit of breadcrumbing, where every items you do find unlocks a bit in new locations, which kind of gives you a way around to go.
To answer our tracker's question, 5 and 6 were Skullwoods and Swamp Palace. So we're really a hammer and a fire rod away from having huge tracts of land opened.
Oh yeah, that fire rod is one of those items that open up a lot. And it's quite powerful to boot too.
It is, I believe, equivalent in power to the Butter Sword.
And there's nothing quite as powerful as the butter sword. Ooh, that's
And Flaffy takes a death, which is unfortunate.
yeah, not a fun death to have on the Dark World surface here, as you will be turned back to the Light World if you have not beaten Agahim.
Ice Rod and Sea Hut for WebbJebster.
Yes, that trolley Ice Rod, giving you a bit more, a bit more reason to go into Turtle Rock as you find it, but a bit of disgust as you keep saying. But it's a pendant dungeon. Yeah, well, you don't have a choice sometimes.
V26 do pendant dungeons.
That's true.
Also, V26 do Skull Woods.
That's even truer. Skull Woods statistically has been proven to have to be very stacked. I think last statistics I saw was, I believe, 32% to have a progressive item inside of it. That's like almost a third, and so that's not a bad play.
That's a whole lot of digs for a shield in digging game.
Hey, technically the shields are progressive items. Capo.
They're progressive, they're not progression.
Well, they can be also progression items if they do not find something like the Cane of Brian or the Cape to go check Laser Bridge inside of Turtle Rock.
Valid point.
But it's very unlikely, and there's a lot of ways to go through that.
We have boots. We have boots in Skull Woods.
What are those? Now we fast. Like I said, people, Skull Woods, always stacked.
And this seed was bootless until boots. Boots may in fact be a required item. There are 2 opportunities for boots to be required. And we've got a banana hat.
Oh yeah, that's a really good hat to have on early. As everybody knows, when you get your bananas in, you do have less damage that you take. Or something like that. I don't remember the quote exactly.
I mean, it's not quite the eggplant hat, but it's still pretty good.
It'll do till then.
And Wef heads into Thieves Town, which is a crystal. Thank goodness.
Yeah, and they're pretty well equipped to deal with whatever is in there. With having their banana hats and the Cane of Brian, I believe they can pretty much do everything they want in here, except check the big key chest since they don't have the hammer. But they could also find it somewhere in here, the hammer. With a stroke of luck, that is.
I've seen a lot of seeds where a required item is in a dungeon that requires it.
Oh yeah, those are not fun. I think the worst I've seen is either hookshot or hammer inside the first chest of Swamp Palace.
Oh, that's just cruel.
I know. Now, these guys are going their separate ways, which is very interesting. Looks like Flaafykins decides to not go into Thieves Town right yet. She decides to go around the world and check a few locations here and there.
Yes, looks like Flaffy is taking Gary his lunchbox. They may be going their separate ways, but at least they're not worlds apart. And Flaffy's going to find out something very unfortunate.
Yeah. Need to get rid of that lunchbox if you want to dig, because Alec Baldwin here doesn't quite like it.
And they may be going their separate ways, but they're not worlds apart. Just a piece of heart, a vanilla item in the ledge above Haunted Grove. I wonder, will we see an old Stumpy check? Looks like we will. Old Stumpy just has some couch cash.
Giving out the last of his fortune before he gets turned into a tree.
I thought Flaffy might have been heading over to the original Hype Cave there, but looks like I was mistaken.
That might be a location she'll see through soon enough.
I did not notice what was in Gary's lunchbox, though.
I believe nothing of importance. I could be wrong, since I was also looking at what Wef was trying to find in Thieves Town. Now, here's the Hype Cave. Let's hope it is a Hype Cave tonight.
We've got Hype Cave on one side and the Blind Fight on the other. Well, we've got the Lag Meringue. We've got Flippers. Flippers in Hype Cave.
Alright, I'll take it. This is a pretty nice Hype Cave. Every time you have something else than just good old regular hearts in there, it's something. It's cool. It's cool. We'll accept it. In the meanwhile, WebbJebster did a wonderful job on Blind, using no safeties, leaving himself with only half a heart, but did the job.
Looks like Flaffy is going to check the first chest of Swamp, since no hammer, so it can't really check any. So she can't really check anything more.
I do hope that's the only thing she's going for, as it's very easy to forget that you need a hammer in Swamp. Those little pegs, they aren't laughing for nothing. Because each time you see them, you go, oh darn, I need a hammer. I think the worst is in the Ice Palace, because they're at one place exactly, just before the boss. Well, never doing that again, I can assure you.
And Ice Palace is a just wretched dungeon because ice physics.
Yep.
I'll tell you, the only two times I like ice physics are when I'm watching a hockey game, and when I'm watching a curling match.
Yep, those are pretty much the only good reasons to have ice physics. It looks like Flaafykins found absolutely nothing in that first chest, so she will need to go explore another location. And
but
I
think she may be heading over to check the island, which was one of the medallions. I think it was Bombos.
Ooh, that's a good find early on. Because especially since they don't know which medallion is needed yet. So, and it's a pretty good way too to open up the first room of Ice Palace if she decides to go in early. She has technically everything she needs to see most of the dungeon.
Yep, everything but the boss. And she is going to go over and get her 3 bombs from the hobo.
It's also a great way to go up the bridge here, since she can just re-embark up there without actually killing Aghanim for the portal or having the hammer with the pegs.
That's true. Which could potentially give us catfish and almost all of pod. Well, actually, not very much of pod, sorry, because no bow. But catfish and pyramid.
Yep, those are 2 good locations to check for the item they have. And as you said, not a lot of pod, but pod does have, I believe, 5 chests in it, and they can go look, if they're lucky with the keys, a whole bunch of them.
We've got cape on the pyramid.
Another fetch quest item, sort of.
Yes, but it's better than just a fetch quest item. It has other uses as well, unlike the mushroom or the shovel, which are only useful for their fetch quests.
Hey man, the shovel, you can do a shovel dash with it, which gives you a whole lot of style points.
Well, that is true.
Memeing aside, yeah, these items, they're kind of useful in their own way, but the cape is very useful on some of these boss strats here, most notably on Ganon.
As chat points out, Bolus Master Sword Vitreous, or really Bolus Vitreous in general.
Ooh, and it looks like WebbJebster here just found himself a duck collar inside a waterfall cave.
Very nice. And Wef heads into Ice Palace. So I'll say it again because these runners are great. They're pretty good runners, and they're pretty good streamers in general. If you're not following them, why aren't you?
Most likely they don't follow because they don't know them yet, which is our job to present them to you in everything they do on screen. So, as my co-commentator said, follow these guys. They're doing a huge service to us by presenting this race and giving us a pretty good show.
And it looks like Wef is doing Ice Palace my way. Bombos whenever you can.
That's not a bad way. Especially when you only have the Master Sword here, these enemies can take quite a lot of hits. Might as well just clear them in one shot.
Exactly.
Now Flaffy gets her duck rolling or flying, whatever you want. I wonder where she's gonna go next now.
Wef taking the safe strat in the 2 Stalfos Night room.
Now, do you think he's going for the bomb jump?
Yes, he is. He set it up. He set up the crystal switch for it. I think if you're a runner in this tournament, you're almost certainly good at that bomb jump. Which is one of the reasons I'm not.
It's definitely a hard process to learn this bomb jump, but the reason most runners tend to learn it is not because it's easy, it's because it's useful. This dungeon, when you do it the way they do it with the bomb jump, it's very different when you're routing it.
Agreed. Now, I'm guessing Wef is gambling that the hammer is going to be in here, because having to make the trip back over to Vitreous is back, or all the way down to Vitreous in a second trip is terrible.
Indeed. You do not want to go all the way back down here. But the way he's doing it right now, I think he's only looking for what the treasures are.
Well, he's found two of them. He's found a bottle and
the fire shield.
The shield. Yes, the second shield. Sorry, I drew a blank.
I was looking at the tracker to see if there was a difference. Now, I think Flaffy is going to similar places, but we'll be looking at the ice cave. I don't think neither of those runners have been inside. Because
They have not. Wef didn't go, and Flaffy took a death on the way there.
Yeah, and guess what he just found inside the ice?
Halt, for the hour of the hammer is upon us.
Man, if that's not luck, I don't know what it is. Finding hammer in a dungeon where you need it, and it's like one of the last chests.
It was the last item in the dungeon. Wow, I think we've found our troll for this scene. And Flaffy heads over. Was that Bombos to open Meyer? Flaffy's heading over to check the Meyer chest. Or the Meyer shed, rather.
Now, she'll be able to check a few more locations like that, but man, that's gonna be a very good thing for Whiff here, as having the hammer inside the Ice Palace like that, he's gonna be able to pull ahead, and not just by a little bit. Flaffy is going to look around for that hammer.
Yeah, that was an incredibly lucky routing decision. If he can manage to down Cold Stare.
Well, he does have half magic and well,
but only Bombos. Well, he does have Cape and Brian. Or
so
just Brian, sorry. That was Flaffy that got Cape.
Oh yeah, that's true. Ooh, he takes a few early hits here. That's not looking super good, but if he can manage to just push him off and take one at a time, I think that's his best bet.
Yeah, Cold Stare body checks are not fun.
Now, he opts to use the cane here, which is definitely a good idea to use that magic for at least something in this fight. But If I were him, I would have used it at first, since it does lag up a bit more, and you have less challenge killing them after there's 1 or 2 down. So you can just use your hearts after that, keep your magic up.
But WebbJebster through Ice Palace. Flaffy heading into desert.
Yeah, man, that play to go into Ice Palace, that's something you don't see every seed.
And boots are definitely required for desert.
Oh yeah, with a small key there, you absolutely need the boots.
Actually, you might not need the boots. If you have compass and map behind the key door, you don't technically need the boots.
That is true. Since if you get the key there and you go and you find the big key in the middle chest here, you could possibly just go your way to the boss. But yeah, it's one of those seeds where everything needs to go perfectly, and I don't think this seed is going that way so far.
Not from what we've seen. We've got a bow. So now Wef is heading over to check the Meyer shed and potentially do desert.
Yep, and if he does the same kind of routing, he'll find himself his bow.
And it is, in fact, Bombos to get into Misery Mire.
So that's always nice to know that you already have the right medallion for a crystal dungeon. But let's not forget that they still might need to go into Turtle Rock. There's not a lot left for this seed to be completable, to be honest, but it's always possible.
Now let's speculate what could be on pedestal to make this a pedestal seed.
Let's see, since Eastern Pod and Turtle Rock are pendants, I do believe that, man, there's not a lot that can be there, to be frank. In fact, there is nothing of importance that can actually be there. Because the only thing they need really to complete this seed is a Fire Rod and Cane of Samaria. And since Turtle Rock is a pendant dungeon, well, they need both of those to finish Turtle Rock.
Yeah, so really, we're 2 items away from go mode.
Yeah, already.
We're just, well, potentially 3 if you need, if one of those 2 items is in Turtle Rock and you have to get, a different medallion to get in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that's true.
Lanmola's with Master Sword, not a fun fight. I'm a little surprised that Flaffy didn't switch over to Silver Arrows for that fight.
That is true, they have found them. It's one of those things I think if you're not paying attention, you can forget very easily, especially when you find silver so early.
That's true. I know I always have a hard time forgetting that I have the flute when I get it really early.
That's true. Especially when you find a shovel soon after. With making the same play to go into desert and clear it as fast as possible, since there's not much in there anyway, and it's pretty far from most other dungeons. But maybe he'll decide to check what's in the Misery Mire.
Now, see, with the situation as it is, this may be just me, but I probably would have thought to hold off on desert until I was doing Mire, so I could do the 2-for-1.
Yeah, that's a good assessment to this seed, but they found a hammer in Ice Palace, so why not Samaria and Mire?
And Wef using Ice Rod strats on Landmo.
Not an easy strat.
Which I think is the classic NMG strat for it.
I have to admit something. I don't even know the NMG route, like, at all, because I'm barely a randomizer player, not even a speedrunner at all. It's one of those things that's on my bucket list to do when I have time, which is probably never, considering there's so many races to commentate.
Yes, bow, as chat points out, bow and silvers makes Vidi a whole lot easier. And Wef is going to Swamp Palace, but the difference between Wef going to Swamp Palace and Flaafy going to Swamp Palace is Wef can full clear.
Oh yeah, he'll be able to go all over the place with every item he has, because with the hammer and the hookshot, and of course the flippers, they will be able to get every chest in there. And since they're only missing 2 items, I really hope they are in there.
There's a good chance it is the single most item-dense location in Randomizer. 6 items.
Ah, yes, 6 items for 1 dungeon. Now, there's a few of them that are quite apart, but when you're not in go mode and Swamp Palace is required, yeah, it's one of those dungeons you want to look at every location.
Even when you're not in go mode, it's about the same time frame as an Aghanim clear.
Oh yeah, with Aghanim being very bad for the time sink you put in it, especially since most of the time it doesn't quite pay off.
Unless that's the only way you can get to Dark World.
Yep, when it's the only way, you don't really have the choice. But these guys have been smart, because this seed at the beginning was looking like maybe it was going to be a Aghanim seed, but they chose to go up to Death Mountain instead, and that paid off.
And I've primarily been watching Flaafy in Thieves Town, so I haven't really noticed if Wef has come up with anything useful out of Swamp.
Not quite, as he's still trekking through it to get his treasures. Because in Swamp, the first treasure is very early on, and the next ones, well, they're kind of a bit later on. Now we'll see if he goes for a small trick I call floodless. It's the thing where you actually get smart and don't flood a key, needing to reset the dungeon.
It's the reason I don't go the route that Wef takes, is that I've flooded the key before, and I resolved I would never do it again.
Yeah, you do have to not go onto automatic mode and pull the. I won't name any name here, but flood the key here. It's very costly in time, as you need to get out of the dungeon, go to another screen transition so the dungeon resets, and go back up to there, and actually go get the key.
Flaffy heading over to digging game as Wef heads upstairs to get the 2 chests on the left side.
Now, Flaffy soon enough will run out of easy locations to check, because as she's trekking around the Dark World to try and find her hammer, she will be forced into either a dungeon, which might be Ice Palace, or it might turn her attention to Palace of Darkness, which, as we know, nobody has went in so far, but it unfortunately doesn't have the hammer.
Let's see where Flaffy goes. Flaffy is heading back to Misery Mire. To answer the question in chat, the hammer was in Ice Palace. Flaffy is checking Mire.
Now, Mire is not locked by the hammer, but it is locked by the Cane of Samaria, which it could be inside of here.
It's inside of here in vanilla.
Yeah, that's true. It would be kind of ideal at this point to find it in here, but...
We've got a fire rod.
Oh, man.
We've got a fire rod in Swamp.
Well, there's only one thing left now to find, and that's that's the cane. Maybe Flaffy can get a bit of time by finding it in here, but it's not looking good so far. WebbJebster is getting a pretty good advantage here by clearing the dungeon in a way that, well, goes on and to be the correct order, as it seems.
And the good news for both runners, Turtle Rock is not required.
Yeah, that's a very good news. Not today, Trinex. Not today.
Not today, Chain Chomp Room.
Oh yeah, that too.
Trinex isn't so bad, even with Master Sword. Chain Chomp Room is just terrible.
Now, Wef needs to be careful when he hookshots these puffs right now, because when he's using the hookshot from the top to bring them down, he's actually bringing them into his sprite, which will hurt them.
Now, something that a lot of people don't necessarily realize is that this last phase of Argus, I call it the reflection phase because it's just bouncing off the walls, reflecting off the walls. A single silver arrow will kill Argus in that form.
Yeah, good luck trying to hit him, though. It's not an easy target.
I don't really have that much trouble setting that up, but maybe it's just me.
Or it may be only me, too. I may be bad enough to the game to not get him. But that's besides the point.
True.
But yeah, using silvers is a great weapon here, or the fire rod too is also used sometimes.
Yes, it is. We have a sick kid check finally. Sick kid just has a little love.
Now, since he does have the fire rod, I believe Whiff is going through Skull Woods now. It's going to be able to go whack a bug.
That certainly appears to be what he's doing.
It's especially going to be easy since he already has half magic to take care of him.
And Flaffy having to do this the long way.
Believe it or not, that's the second time today I see players do that. It's, I think it's considered the normal strat by what's intended.
Yeah. It is definitely the developer intended strat.
And it is super slow. But, you know, when you don't have the choice. Flaffy now getting blocked inside of Meyer. Has found absolutely nothing in there. It's looking like she'll be forced soon enough.
It's looking like Pod, honestly.
Yeah.
I just want to see another sword upgrade or two.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt them much to have a new sword. I mean, blue is cool, but it's not very useful, other than, you know, whacking some wizards with.
And Wef picking up his boots.
He's finally fast. Now, that's a thing I completely forgot about that he didn't get early on, which means that every time Flaafykins was going around running, she was saving a bit of time, but he found some pretty good stuff, just making the right gambles.
Flaffy almost goes into Ice Palace to get her hammer.
Yeah, that's disastrous. She needs to go in there and just go like, well, I can't complete it, but I need to check. But as long as there are other locations, she won't go in there because you don't expect it to be there.
That's true, and it's also a miserable dungeon to do, especially to full clear. Flaffy going to check Northern Dark World though. Looks like probably Graveyard and Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb. Or no, over to Catfish.
Yeah, I think she's gonna get more into Catfish, Pyramid, and Palace of Darkness. Or just Palace of Darkness, apparently. I think she already did that.
She did Pyramid. Pyramid was Cape.
Ah, yeah, that's true. I can't blame her for not wanting to go into Ice Palace, especially since she doesn't have the hammer. But it's one of those gambles, right? Where you go in it, you don't find it, it's a time loss. You don't go in it, and you don't find it, it's a time loss. It's a bad gamble, but it's one that paid off for Wef.
And Wef finishes off Mothula, sorry. Kaiju movie fan, so.
Monster Moth. Or as I like to call him, badly programmed Moth.
See, I can go into that fight with Tempered Sword and Red Mail, and it's still a tough fight.
Oh yeah, since the spikes that are moving around don't really care which mail you have. It's 1 heart of damage no matter what.
Wef heading down to check Big Chest in Skull Woods. And checking at the non-bomb jump way, which, frankly, that is a very, very difficult bomb jump. And just finds 20 rupees out of it.
Yeah, while I was talking, I said that spikes the damage is always the same no matter the mail. That's pretty true for almost every trap things in the game, such as spikes, fire bars, and stuff like that. They always do the same amount of damage. Which the only thing you can really protect yourself with those traps is more hearts, really.
Wef looking like he's going to head over and do Desert?
Maybe he thinks he can find the cane in here or inside of Meyer, but as we both know, it's not here.
I thought he had... Oh, I was wrong. I thought he had done Desert.
Oh, I think it's the inside of Desert that he hasn't done, because he definitely killed Lanmolas.
Okay, he just hadn't gotten the other... he hadn't gotten the other item. I guess I just do that room that Flaffy does weird. Because I'll kill the first... Because I always kill the first mini Helmosaur with the skull pot, and then just shoot an arrow at the other one.
Oh, I never used that strategy. I tend to go bonk inside the second one, hoping to kill him or push him off.
But I also go about halfway up the bridge and throw a bomb over to open up the way to big chest.
Ah, that's right. I don't do that. I tend to either forget to open up once I enter the dark room, or you know, do that because I always forget it.
But that's one thing I like about getting to do commentary on these is I get to see all kind of different strategies.
Yeah, and you do learn a lot more from these guys as you watch and commentate what they're doing. You get better just by seeing what you can do. It's not always the best thing that we're presented, but it gives us more options more than anything else.
And it looks like Wef, at least, is heading up and doing Eastern. Flaffy is heading to probably Dark World Death Mountain.
Yeah, at this point, that's a pretty good gamble on her part to try to find the items she's missing. And I believe she should find Kane somewhere up there, as there's not a lot of locations left. She hasn't completed Eastern yet, but she's probably waiting to have the hammer to complete both. Well, actually, since Eastern is a pendant, she doesn't want to complete that.
Right, but Armos, I think, still has an item.
I believe you're right, since I do remember a compass being in a big chest vanilla location. I mean, not a big chest, a big key.
Of course, it's been a while since Wef and Flaffy have been in there, so I may have just forgotten the count of my item count in there. We've got a tempered sword in Super Bunny Cave.
Now that's a nice upgrade. It's going to help a bit with the remaining bosses and a lot with Ganon himself.
Yes, not having to limit yourself to spin attacks is always a good thing.
Oh yeah, because Ganon is actually killable with only the Master Sword, but he only takes damage with the spin attacks, as you just said. So the fight takes a lot longer. It's a lot more difficult too to land a hit on him.
Flaffy almost got knocked off before she got that last chest.
Getting trolled hard by that jellyfish.
Fortunately, she did not. Oh, if Kane is on Armos, this could be really bad for Flaffy.
Well, right now she looks like she's going back into Eastern, so it's not a... Oh.
Oh, that's gotta be Kane!
Oh yeah, that's the Kane, alright. And the seed is once again proves us that pendant dungeons are required, people. You just don't know it yet.
Oh man, that puts Wef into go mode.
Yeah, and now he'll be able to go mode Meyer, which is something Flaffy could not have done before.
Now, much like Turtle Rock, though, Go Mode Meyer looks a whole lot like Full Clear Meyer.
Yes, because that big key can be pretty much everywhere. It's a dungeon which can take a lot of time or a short amount of time, depending on how trolly the keys decide to just troll you around in there. Yeah, that Ice Palace gamble was.
That Ice Palace gamble did it.
It put Webb so far ahead for, I would say, an impossible decision to take, really. But he was right, and it's one of those where you either take the big time loss or you get a huge advantage.
Now, chat brings up an interesting point, though, that Wef may miss out on Tempered Sword if he does not find a sword upgrade in Ganon's Tower.
Ooh, that's right. And it's most likely because I have seen a few people check the Hookshot Cave for going through the Dark World portal on top of Turtle Rock to go to Ganon's Tower. But the Super Bunny Cave, not really often as I've seen it. So
and unfortunately, Flaffy is continuing to forget she's got silver arrows.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt in the long term. A few frustration slashes from her. I can understand that very much.
Wef just continuing his way through Mire. Maybe Flaffy is now going to Ice Palace?
I believe that's where she's going, because there's not a lot of locations left. And as I said earlier, going as the items she has right now, she could go look into Turtle Rock for the first chest there, but there's not a lot more locations she can go in there. So Ice Palace looks like is the winner with the most locations left to check.
Well, every seed has its troll item. In this case, that troll item is the hammer. And you can't get to Turtle Rock without the hammer.
Yep, I was just reminded by somebody in chat.
Well, technically you can go into Turtle Rock, you just can't open it without the hammer.
Yeah, but since this is supposed to be no major glitches, yeah, they're not supposed to be able to go inside Turtle Rock without.
Wef doing Vitreous on a half a heart.
This is interesting.
I like the strategy, though, using the Cane of Brian to damage the little eyeballs.
Oh, sniped!
Oh, and a death for Wef.
Ooh, nice bomb
Nice
strat.
bomb use in that room.
Gotta say, that's something I want to remember. That was pretty cool. Now, that is a pretty bad death on Wef because Vitreous is like a million miles away from the entrance.
Yes,
and it takes quite a lot of
Vitreous.
time.
That is a big time loss on that death.
I'm familiar with dying to him before, and it's not a fun death to get because you have to go through a lot of the dungeon just to get back there.
And especially without having powder to get fairies out of the anti-fairies.
But considering how low HP he was there last time, he'll probably make it with more hearts this time, being a bit more careful on the way. Let's hope
That's
so,
true.
at least. And there it goes.
There's the hammer, and there's...
Oh, Flaffy, he could have completed
Flaffy
that dungeon.
Well, Flaffy still needs the fire rod to be in go mode.
Yep. And I'm not sure that was the best decision to just quit the dungeon like that, because she could have done the rest of Ice Palace.
I wonder if she didn't. I wonder if she wanted to have the fire rod to do Cold Stare.
Yeah, I can't really blame her for that, but at the same time, she does have the Tempered, which does pretty good damage by its own.
That's true. And Wef forgetting he's got to switch the crystal switch up there.
Now, Wef is in a far better position to get through this fight, and King Strats last time, I can't understand why, but now with the number of hearts he has, he could have gone with the Silver Strat instead.
Although the Cane Dash is pretty swag. I gotta say, big style points for the Cane Dash strats.
Oh yeah, it's almost as good as those the bomb strats.
Oh, the bomb strats are insane.
That's the ultimate style points for there, but it's super slow. So yeah, Cane Dash, it's a good compromise.
I wonder if Wef realizes that how far ahead he is.
Considering that gamble into Ice Palace, man, he has to know that he found something super early he's not supposed to. It's almost like a secret that he found.
And I believe that we are now heading to Ganon's Tower, which means that we have a little tradition in randomizer races where we ask the chat, what chest? There are 22 possible locations for the big key in Ganon's Tower. Where do you think it is? Give us a number from 1 to 22 in the chat.
Well, my
Where do
vote is
you think
always
it's
the
going to be,
same.
partner?
Mine is always the same number, 2.
And as I said the last time I commentated with you, until it is in this location, I will say the same. I will say the same thing, and I will say that it is going to be in Tile Room.
Ah, yes. The big old trolliest location.
Wef getting the Turtle Rock hammer pattern backwards. Now, what can our chat people win if they guess right?
Obviously, bragging rights. But more importantly, we'll be right back with the answer after this commercial. I'm kidding, people. It's really... it's only for really bragging rights when you find your own the right number here, as it's quite trolly.
Although it looks like Wef is not going to do Super Bunny, so it looks like Wef is going to be doing this Ganon's Tower, at least the beginning of it, on Master Sword.
Well, the beginning of it is not that bad, especially since, Ganon's Tower tends to have a good likelihood of having a sword in it.
That's true. Although the seed I was commenting the other day had not one but 2 swords in Thieves' Town.
Man, those thieves, man. Wef is still checking a few locations here and there. I believe he's still not... maybe he was lacking a bit of confidence with his safety items right now.
Or, well, I think that was a fairy in a bottle on the... oh, is a bee in a bottle on the island?
Yeah, it's a bee. It's much better than a fairy.
Still, with the bug net, getting that second bottle lets you get 2 fairies here in Ganon's Tower. Over in Ganonball Run.
Now, have they picked up the bug net, though?
Yes. I thought they did. No, they did not.
These runners, man. They keep skipping the best item.
And Flaffy picks up her fire rod, putting her in go mode. Okay, we're through 3 and no big key yet. Seven and still no big key. And those red Stalfos are terrible.
Oh yeah, they bounce around. It's just throw. Sorry about that. They throw around their bones all over the place. They're very bad.
And Flaffy switching to silver arrows. And Wef gets his tempered sword in Ganon's Tower.
Now that's a pretty good upgrade to get here, because it reduces your anxiety fighting Ganon. Makes it so much more easier.
Wef using the bonk strats in Fire Snake Room. And that was chest 9, still no big key. Tile Room is alive!
But first, here comes the Randomizer Room, which has, as its name suggests, has 4 random chests in it.
$10, $11, $12, $13, still nothing.
Wef gets past that cursed tile, which saves about 0.5 seconds.
Oh, I saw someone the other day mistakenly pick up that second skull pot there. That was a big time loss.
Oh yeah, because without that second skull pot, you're not doing the bonk strat. You have to go around the long way.
Or you go out of the room and reset it.
Oh yeah, that's a bit more sensible.
Big key and mirror shield past Ice Armos. So I lost count of the numbers, but
I believe the correct answer is nobody got it.
Wef definitely needing to be careful because he is low on health.
Oh yeah, that plays a lot, especially since he doesn't have a lot of safety right now, with nothing to refill his health and his bottles.
But he does have the mirror shield, so
it's going to be very useful reflecting the Wizrobe shots and the Mimic shots. Unfortunately, these Beamos will still laser him until he bonks into a wall somewhere.
And Flaffy takes a death. It's not too terribly costly a death, but it is still a death.
Yeah, and Wef is getting very close to a fairy spot, so we'll most likely see him bonk across and find himself a good health refill right here.
Yes, and Wef gets through Gannonball Run pretty easily.
Now, one thing I haven't mentioned too is he did find a shovel earlier in the tower, which unfortunately at this point we'll never know what's at that shovel location, because there is literally no point in continuing to look for items outside. You might still see him maybe open a few chests along the way here, because he might still find a red mail.
Well, we'll find out in the credits.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Wef through the gauntlet. Weff choosing fire rod strats for land mode 2.
It's a lot easier than using the silver arrows, as the silver are very, very slow and tend to lag up the screen.
But through land mode 2 with no problems. That Cane of Samaria block in that room is one of the most satisfying uses of a cane block that in the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. You don't expect the cane to be that useful to damage enemies, but against Wizrobes and a few places here and there in the game, most notably blind when you don't have a sword, can be a very good weapon.
Well, not being someone who plays open, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, blind without a sword, he's not a fun fight to go through. But fortunately, there's quite a few ways to actually hurt him using the Cane of Samaria, the hammer, and of course the Cane of Brian.
Really, I didn't realize Cane of Brian did damage.
Yeah, it does very little damage. I believe it's equal to the fire sword, but it's somewhat useful sometimes.
And Weff picking up these two chests here, I guess looking for red mail, looking for the eggplant hat.
Only finds himself some money cash.
Nice bonk strat there. And he heads into Troll Dorm 2. And Troll Dorm is true to form and knocks him down. Onto the spikes.
Of course, it's on the spikes. I mean, that's the true Troll Dorm way.
And Flaffy goes into, and Weff falls again to Troll Dorm. At least not onto the spikes this time. Flaffy choosing to use the Cane of Brian in this fight rather than the cape, which honestly I think is a better choice. The reason being it costs a little more magic to start, but the ongoing cost is lower.
Yeah, at the cost of slightly more lag too. But that's
Yes.
That's something she's willing to go through to beat this boss, because she probably told herself, okay, I already have a death in here, I need to pick up the pace. And that's a wonderful strat.
And 10 arrows in the validation chest. And Weff unable to do my usual strat in this room, which is just use the cape and ignore everything.
That's a strat I've never used before. I'll be honest. I'll have to think about it if I ever get trolled by those mini Elmasaurs.
You can go through that room and not get trolled by mini Helmasaurs?
Yeah, well, if you use a cape, that's a good way. But yeah, there's a
couple of nice doubles from Weff.
Oh, that's a very nice finish here.
It's a nice Aga 2 from Weff. Now, do you think he will head down the pyramid to get the fairy before he goes into the Ganon fight?
Ooh, I don't know at this point. It's a hard sell either way because 2 hearts. That's you have to be pretty confident.
He is going down to get the ferry.
Yeah, that's. I'm gonna say that's probably what I would have done because Ganon with 2 hearts is not a lot at all.
Well, oh no, he's not. He didn't go to get the ferry. He's going to Witch's Hut to get potions.
It's well, that's a pretty good thing. I think filling his bottles with a few potions is probably a good idea. Just before going in a Ganon fight, because I'm pretty sure he won't lack any magic to go through, but since he's only on Blue Mail, if he hugs Ganon a bit too much, he might get hurt.
And well, oh, that's right, because he has the portal.
Yeah, at a very cool place where it's almost the same as if he kicked Aghanim 1's butt.
Herpaderp. I forgot he put a portal there. And some Pink Floyd from Ganon.
Now we'll see if we see cape strats on Wef.
Wef never got the cape.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We're seeing hookshot strats from him, though. And Wef into phase 3 of the Ganon fight. And we're seeing Cape Dash strats on Vitreous. Nice! I didn't realize Cape Dash strats would damage Vitreous. Would damage the Vitreous Big Eye.
Oh yeah, it's while the big guy is out when it opens up to shoot lightning, it's actually vulnerable.
And we've got a torch glitch from Wef,
making the fight that much easier.
Nice double. And that'll do it for WebbJebster. WebbJebster has won with an official SRL time of 1:47.51. GG to WebbJebster. But I'm sorry, his princess is in another castle.
Darn, and who's that in Sanctuary? But nevertheless, GG to Wef. He played a wonderful match, making what I call probably the best gamble I've seen so far. And oh man, did it pay off.
That was quite a great gamble.
Now, we'll see shortly if he wants to come in for an interview. In the meanwhile, Flaafykins is going to complete her last crystal dungeon in the Skull Woods.
Fortunately, all Flaffy really has to do is the back half.
That is true.
Flaffy finishing off Mothula. Congrats, Wef.
Thank you very much.
That was quite the seed, I gotta say. That was very interesting the way you routed that.
I mean, I said this in the last race, after the last race too. I have a very strange approach to routing things sometimes. And it's because I don't think I'm like super the best at the game. And so really, in order to win, you have to do kind of dumb things and hope they pay off. And I think it did this time.
Oh, totally. I mean, that that Ice Palace gamble was probably the best gamble I've seen in so long.
Yeah,
that was not an easy one to make.
That's like, okay, so Ice Palace is like the worst palace to gamble that on, right? Like, it's gotta be.
The Mire is probably worse because it's only 2 items.
Yeah, that's true. Mire is probably worse. Ice Palace is second worst. That was a really terrible gamble. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I felt good about it. I felt how the seed was kind of leading me there. Because if in terms of getting crystals, going into Ice Palace was the only one I could get to, I believe. So I figured I would rather spend my time now. If I had gone to Eastern Palace, I would have got the red cane, that would have been good information to get. I don't know. It would have been interesting if I hadn't gone to Ice Palace there. If Ice Palace hadn't had Hammer, that would have been disastrous. But yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we were saying, that if the Hammer was inside Ice Palace, that's the best gamble you take. And if it's not, that's a pretty big time loss. But at that point, there was so many things left to explore, and yet you still decided to go there. And as you said, it was one of those stupid things where if you try it, it gets a big payoff, and it worked this time.
Yeah, so, it worked, and it wasn't like a totally blind reach, you know? Like, there's only so many times you can get burned by the overworld until you just decide to stop checking it, you know?
Well, it's V26, do dungeons.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 dungeons, and so I did the dungeon that I needed to do. I didn't quite have all the items I needed to beat it, but I figured, hey, I might as well see if I get it there, because, I mean, the way that I see it is, if it's not there, I've still cleared it out. I can basically go mode the place on my next run through it. So while it's a time loss, and Ice Palace again is super duper long, even when you do bomb jump and all of that, you know, it really, I weighed it very quickly in my brain when I was going up and doing Waterfall Fairy, because I did that right before I did Ice Palace. The entire time I was going up and getting Waterfall Fairy, I was talking to myself basically like, do I really want to do this? I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do this. And it paid off, and I'm lucky it paid off, for sure.
Yeah, because we've seen Flaafykins try a similar gamble, but with Mire, and it did not pay off, unfortunately.
Gosh, yeah. I really don't like basically, Mire might be my least favorite dungeon of the bunch. I really don't like Mire. And so I rarely gamble Kane in Mire. And that probably paid off, considering I walked over there and saw it was Bombos, and I immediately was like, oh my god, I bet Kane's in Mire. And I'm really glad I didn't check.
Yeah, you did good down there, and I have to say that overall, despite that huge gamble, I think you did pretty well.
One thing that was really, really close, Flaafykins almost got bumped into the portal in the compass room in Ganon's Tower with 1 chest to check.
Oh gosh. Oh. Oh man.
Saw that happen the other night in this tournament with the last race I commented on. I commentaried with someone getting bumped into that with a chest to check.
That's gross.
Completely.
Oh, 13 bonks. That's not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I just saw the bonks roll past on my screen.
Would you like to know where the other sword upgrade was?
Sure.
Super Bunny.
What? No way. Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about it because Flaafykins did check Super Bunny while she was going up the mountain earlier on to try to find the hammer. And I was saying that you probably won't check it because people do tend to check a bit the hookshot cave while they go up to the location of the Dark World mirror location, not mirror, the portal location on top of Total Rock. But Super Bunny is kind of out of the way.
Just a note, Flaffy picks up her butter sword.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where, you just get tired of getting burned by overworld locations. So, I mean, if this was last week when I was playing J-Copes, I mean, I would have definitely gone there first. No question about it. I mean, if you have Hookshot and Moon Pearl and Titan's Myths, like, in past versions of Randomizer, just going ahead and doing Dark World, Death Mountain is like an easy call. But yeah, and at the end, I don't know if you noticed, I walked past when I was going into the Dark World just to see what the floating island on Death Mountain was, and I saw that it was a bottle. And basically the reason I did Hookshot Cave, even though I didn't need to, is because I was preparing myself for what I thought was an inevitable Master Sword Ganon fight, which I'm terrible at.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, because going in, Master Sword is not a fun fight. And seeing as you picked up a bottle that had a B in it, of all things, I was like, yeah, you're probably looking for a few more safeties. That's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, I was questioning whether I wanted to even go bother and get it. Like, if it had a fairy or a potion in it, I would have been right there. I would have been like, oh, this is definitely worth the gamble to just take a couple extra seconds, especially with the Ice Palace gamble, which I was fairly certain Flaafykins didn't actually take. I felt like I had time, so I went ahead and did it. I got an extra heart piece in Hookshot Cave that gave me another heart. So, I mean, it kind of worked out. I just felt like I had some extra time to play with, and I went for it.
I'll tell you, she almost did take the Ice Palace gamble.
Oh, man. That would have been an insane race if she had done that. Like, wow.
That would have been crazy.
If both of us did it, that would have been absolutely crazy. I would have had to go watch the VOD to see how just nutsoid that would have been.
Yeah, that's... we'll keep saying, as so far, I think that's one of the biggest gambles I've seen somebody take, and that paid off that much.
Yeah, I mean, I lost my first match, so, like, if I lose this one, I'm basically done for. I mean,
Flaffy downs Ice Armos like a pro.
Yeah, those are Ice Armos with the silvers. They go down pretty fast.
They do. They really do.
But getting 2 with the shooting left, I've only ever seen people getting 1. So yeah, that's a really impressive Ice Armos.
I'm watching Flaafykins play right now, and yeah, I was sweating basically the entire of Ganon's Tower. I was taking so much damage I didn't want to take.
Oh yeah, and you didn't have potions at the time too, so going up was not easy. I think you started like these rooms with like what, 3 hearts?
It was 3 hearts, and I took a shot in this mimic room, and I was sweating it. I had to go, and I did a pit stop over to get those fairies in the hallway. But I was sweating basically the entire time.
Yeah, with
very
where you
different.
were, the fairies and Cannonball Run was the obvious play to make.
Yeah, obviously, there was no way that I wasn't gonna go get those with 2 hearts, going into, some fairly high risk rooms.
Yeah, that gauntlet can kill runs.
Yeah, you just never know what way those red dragon dudes are gonna walk, and when you're worrying about skeleton bones and fireballs, and like if I hadn't had a bunch of life, like what I do sometimes is I just bombos my way through the gauntlet and just take the seconds of time loss. But yeah, I felt all right about doing gauntlet, and this it was actually a really friendly gauntlet for the most part.
I'll say there's no shame in bombosing your way through the gauntlet.
Yeah,
Especially the last 2 rooms.
Yeah, the last 2 rooms where you're just like, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm just gonna bombos this room and just go for it.
Yeah, the I will not deal with ice physics. By the way, Cape was on Pyramid.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of Cape strats on Flaafykins' stream a few times here and there. It was a pretty good strats, as Cape is slightly more useful than Cane of Brian, as you did use a couple of times yourself.
Yeah, I basically tanked my way through. Well, I died the first time on Vitreous, but I basically just tanked my way through. See, I didn't know how well that dash strat, the dashing back and forth, would work with the cane because of all of the frames you're dropping when you're doing cane.
Yeah.
I didn't know how well it would work with Master Sword. I know with Butter Sword it's basically like a free win. But I didn't know, with cane and the dash strat, I didn't know how many hits I would actually get with all the missed frames, but it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that death on Vitreous was a pretty unfortunate time loss here, as it's one of the longer dungeons to go all the back through to the boss. But
oh yeah, I screamed. I'm not gonna lie. I was glad that I was muted because I screamed and it wasn't pretty. I'm not proud. It was an ugly scream.
I'll ask: Did you figure that? Did you figure when you got the cane out of Ice Palace that you were ahead?
Oh, the hammer out of Ice Palace?
Or, yeah, the hammer out of Ice Palace. Sorry.
I mean, I obviously figured the only way I wasn't ahead was if Flaafykins also did that. And yeah, I mean, it was such a huge gamble. Like, it was such a high reward gamble that unless Flaafykins also did it, like, I was sure that I was ahead by at least like 10 minutes.
And you are, so
yeah,
you can see the results of that. Yeah, it's again not an easy gamble to do, and it certainly paid off a lot.
Yeah, it paid off in a huge way. I'm not about to like call that any manner of like, oh well, I knew it was going to be there. There was no, I mean, I had an inkling, obviously, or else I wouldn't have done it. But there was nothing that was telling me that it was there, except for the fact that it was the only crystal dungeon I could get to, and I hate the overworld. So that was basically the only thing that was leading me to the Ice Palace.
Yeah, it was yeah.
Flaffy through Troll Dorm 2. That Troll Dorm 2 fight.
I don't know what I was trying to get the 2-hitter with the spins, and I just said screw it, I'm just gonna dash. That was not one of my prouder moments either. I also screamed when I got the red cane out of Armos Knights.
And Flaffy takes my strat through that room.
God, I hate that room. That room is true final boss.
Yeah.
That room is terrible.
True final boss. That's all I gotta say. Once you get past that room, it's just easy sailing. Yeah, it was kind of, I felt like even outside of that game.
Nice triple for Flaffy.
Oh, I'm looking for this. Oh, dang.
Not a
That was
bad
a really
fight
good
at
triple.
all.
Whew. Yeah. Now she's got 2.5 hearts. Does she have? I don't know if she has potions or not. No, she probably doesn't have potions unless she went and bought them.
Yeah, I think she's gonna go and at least go take the fairy in that tree down the tower. Or not even.
And once again, some Pink Floyd out of Ganon.
Yep. Now this is a butter sword fight, so 2.5 hearts is not outside of the realm of possibility here.
Oh yeah, especially with the cape strats.
Yeah, she's got the cape. She has a green potion if she hasn't used it yet. I'm assuming she knows she has a green potion because otherwise... Oh, she is... Okay,
she has a blue.
Okay, well...
But yeah, she's probably going to go through that fight with a breeze. It's not a very hard fight when you have the golden sword.
Yeah, it's not that bad when you've got butter sword and cape.
Yeah, for sure.
And silvers.
Yeah, I mean, the silvers is the key part there. There's really not a whole lot of risk. Now, 2.5 hearts is obviously a one-hit kill, so I mean that's not easy. But I mean, still with the butter sword.
Okay, it looks like she is going to be into phase 3. If my count is accurate. Okay, it wasn't, but at this point she's definitely into phase 3. Let's just watch her finish up here.
All on the edge of her seats.
Yeah, for sure.
And she gets the torch glitch. You got a nice double in this fight, Wef.
Yeah, I thought I had the double. I thought that the first one I did was going to be a double. Unfortunately, it was only a single the first time, or else I would have had a two cycle.
I've had a lot of trouble getting the double vertically. I found it a lot easier to get the double horizontally.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think all of my double that I got was horizontally. Oof.
There's the double. And Flaafykins in second with an official SRL time of 2:09:06.
Oh. Man. That was a fun race. That was a fun seed.
It looked like a fun seed.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because my last seed was basically mirrorless, and this one was like mirror right off the bat. So I was happy about that. It was mirrorless and silverless, and I got silvers super early as well. So like both of those things made me very happy with this seed after having done a mirrorless silverless seed.
Yeah, and an early sword too. Early Master Sword, even.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but late tempered or butter.
Yeah, it was Master Sword for basically the whole game.
Welcome, Flaffy. GG to you.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Flaffy. GG. This is Wef.
Hi. I did everything wrong.
Well,
Oh boy.
I'm not gonna say you really did everything wrong.
I went to Pod.
Well, I'll let them talk about it since they're the commentators.
Okay.
Well, where you were, Pod was not a bad gamble. Pod was a reasonable place to check because it was a high item density.
Yeah. I also, I don't know if you noticed, but I thought Ice Palace was a pendant when I left. After I got the hammer.
So
We were
that's
wondering-
why you left.
I just thought, I was like, I have a hammer, this is a pendant, I'm out of here. I thought it was a pendant. As soon as I got the fire rod from Swamp Palace, I was like, yes, I think I'm in go mode. Okay, what crystals do I need? Crap, Ice Palace.
Yeah,
Well,
and go ahead.
To be fair, I thought you were going out to get the fire rod before you before you finished Ice Palace.
I would have been fine without the ice rod. I just didn't realize I needed it.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but as we talked about with taking that gamble to go very early into Ice Palace and getting the hammer in there, it's probably the best gamble I've seen so far in this tournament. So
I almost did that. I went to Ice Palace, then I was like, no, wait, Pod has stuff that I haven't done yet.
Yeah,
yeah,
we saw that. I thought you were going into Ice Palace.
I was about to. I was like, Ice Palace, yeah. I was like, no, wait, Pod. Actually, wait, did I go to... I think I went to Misery Mire, because I can't remember. All I remembered is that until I was in go mode, I thought Ice Palace was a pendant. So that was my reluctance to go there.
yeah, and going into Mire early didn't pay off for you.
Nope.
I'll say that Isomos fight was insane.
I think that's the best one I've had yet.
That's the best I've ever seen at Ice Armos. And it appears that Powder was in the pedestal.
Oh, okay. I was wondering that after I beat Armos 1 and I got that pendant, and I was like, okay, so Pod is green. I was already going through that in my head. I was like, if this... Well, it was actually before I had gotten the item for Armos, and I saw that it was the cane. Yeah, it was a little dodgy, because before I saw that cane drop, I was like, okay, so am I going to have to do Turtle Rock? Well, no, I couldn't have done Turtle Rock without the cane. So yeah, no, it was fine. I knew exactly what I was doing.
I was like, I can't remember why I didn't go to Ice, but I was thinking the absolute last item I had available to me was the item on Armos. And then I got the red cane. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong? And I was like, oh, duh, Ice Palace.
And I'll say again, if I've said it a couple times during the race, but if you aren't following these two runners, why aren't you? Because they are great.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
that was definitely a very entertaining race to watch. Very different routes overall. One paid off a bit more early game, and one paid off with a huge gamble mid game.
I'm gonna have to check out the VOD, see what Wef did.
I just went to Ice Palace hoping the hammer was in there.
That's where I was hoping it wasn't Pod, because the last seed I had ran had Pendant Pod, had Hammer, Mitts, and Fire Rod.
Oh wow!
So I was like, Pod having stuff was in the back of my mind.
Wow, that's nice. That's almost as crazy as a seed I ran last week that had the last 3 items I needed for go mode all in Ice Palace.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's the spirit of Randomizer, right? It's taking gambles. Sometimes they do pay off, and sometimes they don't. Today we've seen WEF made one big gamble for Ice Palace, and it surely did. Now, but apart from that, I gotta say both of your execution all around has been pretty good overall, I think, and so good on you for that.
Yeah, my execution's definitely been getting a lot better. So no regrets there.
Yeah, the only real bummers I had was the Moldworm 2 fight and then dying to Vitreous.
Oh no.
Yeah, I died to Vitreous. It was rough. It was Masters. I mean, you were probably Tempered Sword Vitreous, right?
Yeah, and
I was Master
with half magic.
Yeah, I was doing Master.
To be fair, Wef, you went into Vitreous with a half a heart.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I can do this. All I have to do is just not get hit. I had Kane. Let's do this.
I think I went to Cold Stare with half a heart.
And that's true, and you made it through.
Thank God for Kane and Berna.
Yeah, both of you used the cane a few places in this run, and it saved your butt at quite a few places.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was seriously insane execution from both of you on the Wef on the Vitreous fight with Kane and half a heart, and Flaffy with the Cold Stare fight on half a heart and the Kane.
God, I would never do Cold Stare. I mean, you guys saw what I did. I went up and I fell into the pots to go get fairies before I did Cold Stare. I was like, I'm not going through this. I'm not dying in Ice Palace. After that gamble, I'm refusing to let Ice Palace be bad.
My thought was like, God, I have to go into Ice Palace again because I didn't finish it the first time. I am so behind. I gotta do something. But then as I was going towards, as I left Ice Palace and went towards Skullwoods, you got done. I was like, oh no, I messed it up so bad. I wonder how much time I would have saved if I had done that.
Well, you did still good overall, and I gotta say I'm gonna give a few shout outs here to our tracker S Diesel and our restreamer Alvi.
Hey.
You guys did a pretty good job, and we're always happy to ourselves, the commentator, to help you guys bring and do some wonderful matches.
Yes, thanks for the race, Flaffy.
Yeah. Thank you too.
Yeah, GG guys, good race.
Yes, nice race, both of you. Best of luck to both of you going through the rest of the group stage.
Thank you.
And now you have to beat everyone else. Wef.
Well, I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna not try.
Are you 2-1 or 2-0 or 1?
I am 1-1.
Okay. You have to keep winning.
I gotta keep winning. I'm just not gonna lose for the remainder of this tournament. That's the key, right? I feel like if I lose again, then I'm out. So I have to. It's one and done for the rest of the tournament.
Well, it's like Joe Madden, the manager of the Cubs, says: "Try not to suck."
Try not to suck. Try to take insane gambles, and they pay off every single time.
Yeah, that gamble was crazy, man.
It was getting super deep into Ice Palace, and I didn't have the hammer yet. I was getting a little worried.
Yeah, I was in there. I was like, there's nowhere else it could be, but there's got to be somewhere it is. And then I got it, and I was like, oh thank God.
Yeah, when you went into Ice Palace, Wef, I was thinking this is going to be win or lose. You're going to win or lose the race on this gamble.
Yeah, like I said, at this point, I was already 0-1. I had assuming that I'm even going to leave the group stage, because I told you at the beginning of the interview, I don't think I'm like super great at this game or anything. So, I have to do silly things in order to get myself an advantage, and this time it paid off.
It
yeah,
definitely did.
it paid off, and wow.
All right. Well, I think later tonight we have maybe one more race coming up on the main tournament schedule.
I know there's two more races in the secondary tournament coming up in about 10 minutes. There's JTB versus Suns Out Guns Out 5 and MY Rambler versus Suikobaj coming up
That's
tonight
true,
in the
but
secondary.
I'm not sure if they're being restreamed though.
They're not restreamed as of the last I noticed, but that doesn't mean they're not getting restreamed.
That's true.
And Cross Product and Yagamoth are racing now, as well as Kyong 92 and SM Bai in the main tournament. Those just started about 20 minutes ago.
So yeah, if you want to look for more randomizers tonight, head up for Speed Gaming right now. I believe it's the Speed Gaming 1 that has these two races at once. So it's 4 streams on one screen, people. It's a great place to be right now.
And keep an eye on Speed Gaming 1 through 4 and Randomizer Mania 1 through 4 for further matches throughout both the main and secondary tournaments.
And with that, I'll say that was a very fun race to commentate, and I hope we get to commentate again, because I think we're making quite a good duo so far.
Yeah, thanks for the commentary. And thanks for the interview.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you for the race. And that was a great race, and I will be heading out myself too.
I was Dynasty Zero, and I'll see you guys some other time.
I was and still am DM Stewart 1981, and I will catch you all on the flip side.